Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew. Today, I want to talk about something very specific to me and a very personal story that I felt like sharing because something that has always been on my mind is that there's something special about YouTube, and what that is that it's you. It's YouTube. It's about you. It's about the person. You know, you can do what you want, whatever you're passionate about, whatever makes you happy. And YouTube does make me happy. It really does. But I felt like sharing this just because um, I don't want to lose a hold of it. I don't want to lose time with it. And there's no such thing much as that. Um, but um, there's a specific story that I wanted to tell, and it deals with what happened a year ago. The year 2024, one of, and I would actually say it is the worst year of my entire life. And there's a lot of stuff I could be saying right now, but it's really at the core of it, it was something that started it all the way back in 2023. Now, I don't want to lean onto this as if it's worse or anything like or comparable to other people and other people's feelings or you know um, sicknesses or anything like that because I don't there's people who have obviously been through much worse, but I wanted to share this specifically because it was something that has affected me on my life today now, and it was extremely effective back then, and I would say that it has changed me a lot on how I view the world. And it is something that I thought I would never get out of. Now, am I something like, am I, it's not like I've lived a long life. I'm not like obviously, I'm not in my 50s or 60s or 40s, 30s. I'm not even in my 20s yet. But it is something that is extremely important that I felt like bringing up, at least to me in my life, because I'm never going to forget it. And it was something that occurred late 2023 out of nowhere when I started going on medicine after trying to get rid of something that really brought itself onto me, or it was really, really bad. And um, a lot of it was like headaches, and a lot of it was, my mucus problems and stuff like that. Something that I would say is even worse today than ever. Unfortunately, not that it really matters or bothers me as much, but I do have, certain problems back then that I would say is so much better back then, and basically proves my point that I shouldn't have ever been on those medicines at all, I would say. And it was very painful for me to go through, um, in the sense that when I started taking these prescriptions, one of which I didn't want to take, but they told me to take it anyway, and it was an everyday thing. It was only a few a day, pretty much. And out of nowhere, near the end of 2023, pretty much, I started feeling a pain in my around here, and I assumed that it was like sinuses or and it was sinuses. It was called like it was like a sinus headache, but it was also a nummular headache. I don't really know. I mean, I've been through multiple doctors through that time period, and it was really confusing, really bad time. But it was a pain that would not leave. It's like, yeah, sure, you have these headaches and stuff like this. This one was extremely distracting, and it was painful, and it was every single day, all day, 24/7. It would cause problems with me at school. It was cause problems with me at home. I couldn't watch movies. I couldn't play video games because it was just that distracting. And it's really bad to focus so much onto that, but that's what it was. And it didn't help with the fact that I started going on a medicine that was really, really bad, that I think caused a lot of my problems in my day life. Especially in the mornings, because in the mornings I would go to work or walk to work, and it would be the constant same feeling of I'm going to live like this for the rest of my life, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. It was to that point where I didn't know what to do, but I wasn't someone who really wanted to die. I was never one of those people where I could, you know, think about that. But I also didn't know what to do. I was told to deal with it. I was feeling awful. It was miserable. And again, I don't want to compare it to anyone else's problems. There's been much worse because it wasn't like it was cancer or anything like that, but it was unexplainable and it didn't make any sense to me because what I really want to talk about, there was a specific night in late 2023 where I was thinking about a lot of my life and thinking about like talking with friends in the past or great moments in my life and just thinking I'm not going to feel these moments anymore and I'm going to miss these people so much if this thing takes me over. And it was really really bad. It was really really bad. And um, I I thought it was I genuinely thought it was a tumor or something that I had for brain cancer or something. I really like it messed me up so much and it took me a long time to recover and recuperate from like mentally, I would say the most for a long time because it was over the span of a year. It was from late, like I would say around my birthday, 2023, to around my birthday in 2024 when I started to get off of it. But it was at its worst after the fact that I was getting off of it, obviously, with the withdrawal and everything like that, which I assumed was only going to be a few days after the fact of, like, there's a process of getting off of medicine, obviously. They would say, oh, withdrawal would be a few days. It wasn't a few days. It wasn't a few weeks. It was months, and it was going into the start and of 2025, which caused me a lot of problems. Again, mentally, and even I would say now, even though it's not a withdrawal now because I'm completely over it, but it was really really bad. And the most specific case that I want to get over with was March of 2024. So this would have been sometime after they wouldn't figure out what it was. It would never help. In fact, it would just get worse because the medicine, I swear to God, would just make me feel this mentally too and think the same thoughts every single day, all day pretty much, especially in the mornings. And I would just fight. I would fight. I would work my way out of it and like gain up money to get a surgery that ultimately never ended up helping out on anything. And it was just it felt like the end of the world on so many occasions and so many situations. Something that I would, I never wanted to or never would ever expect to feel because you go a year back before this, not everything was fine. Life was good. Yeah, sure, I had problems. I'm not gonna like pretend like I didn't, but it wasn't physically and mentally. I was so much better shape. Obviously before all of this had occurred, and it was just a really unfortunate situation. But what happened in March is that I went to a doctor thing, and they had told me that they couldn't figure out what it was, so they moved me to another thing that would they said the solution would be there, that they would figure out what it was, and they know what it is. And then they told me they don't know what it is. They don't know what it is at all. That it was something that they can't even figure out. And they just left me at that. They didn't help me. And my mind was not obviously at ease. I was confused. I didn't know what to think. And on our drive home, or at least my mom, because she was driving, because she uh, was nice enough to drive me to that area. And then we were heading back home, which is a long way around away. But I was just thinking, and I couldn't think straight. I really couldn't. But there was a chat thing that I had from my group chat from my class for my class when I was a student, and it was basically something that I completely ignored and I didn't look into it all. I didn't want to because it was just everything was just again, it just felt like there's no solution to this. I'm gonna feel like this for the rest of my life, and I've been feeling this pain 24/7 in my head. Waiting for some kind of conclusion, but there's nothing. There's nothing that can help it. There's nothing that I can't take Tylenol. I can't take anything. I can't do anything, and it was just constant, and they couldn't figure it out, and it didn't make any sense. And then the next day happened, which I went to school and I was in agriculture, which was like second period or something like that, I believe. And I was a classmate of mine talked to me who I used to be friends with a long while back, asking me if I heard about someone, and they said their first name and their last name actually, and it was really confusing because I think they said it wrong actually, um, because I didn't know what they were actually talking about at first, but they mentioned them and they said something horrific that about this person and asking me if I heard about this, and I didn't know what they were talking about, and it was very very weird the way they mentioned it, and I when I heard it, I I was confused. I asked him what was going on, and Larry, like, "What do you mean? Like, who are you talking about?" Well, no, he didn't. And I put it together because he was talking about a past classmate of ours who had passed away, and I don't know if it was actually the way he meant it was the way it happened, because I mean I couldn't tell what he because he just said it and he said he didn't know, so I don't know if he even really knew, but it still really spooked me obviously, and I was confused, but he was referring to him as he was a past classmate because he was, but he was one of my best friends growing up. And when you hear something like that, as to someone who you still have in contact with, even though it's been a while since you've seen each other or talked, a couple years, maybe even just a year, and you hear something like that, and they're gone. They won't respond to your messages. Your last message you send them, they're never gonna see that. And it's hard to put two and two together. It was really really hard, really really hard, because it wasn't like a pet was gone. It wasn't even like a family member that was gone. Even though that's close enough, I would say. It was real because all this happened so quickly. I was told there was no conclusion to this thing. Then this happens, and it was a culmination of so many things. Again, I was told to deal with this stuff, and I, that it's hard to put stuff together and think and try to remember back on those things. But I was on all this stuff, and I would constantly cry. I didn't understand it, and everything just fell apart. And what made that even worse is the people at school that would joke about his death, and joke about certain things. Now, whether it's kids are kids, and whether they meant anything of anything or not, it just ruined my worldview, and how cruel. And it wasn't like they were constantly joking or anything like that, but even one simple thing after something that they knew they were friends with, even at a time, maybe once, because I mean I didn't have any friends in school to talk to. I didn't have anyone to talk to, outside of maybe my mom or something, or trying to say something to someone, a friend online for sure, but physically I couldn't do anything with anyone you know, physically speaking, like in the sense that, like, going to school. I can't talk to anyone about this. I sat at the lunch table. I was so baffled. Everything was confusing. The world was really ending. That's what it felt like. It felt like the world was absolutely at its end, and it never made any sense to me. And that was the worst week, I would say, of my life. Almost, I think it was the second. It was the first or second week of March, pretty much. I know what day it was, but I don't know the calendar of 2024. But it was very surreal. And again, I don't want to compare it to like other people's. Everyone's had their own feelings on this stuff, but I kept pushing on, even though I pushed on to my goal of reaching to a surgery that ended up not helping or working. in the middle of that year, I kept pushing on. I kept fighting this thing that I never understood, and it doesn't make any sense to me, and it messed me up mentally, and it still does. It really does. And I don't want it to be like something as to what like I I just felt like making this video because if you feel like you are in or put in that place as to where the world feels like it's ending, you feel you're all in pain, you have no one, or it feels like you have no one to talk to, keep pushing, because life can become and get better. Because there's so many moments, and lately I've been very depressed and thinking about or looking back at some of this stuff because I've been repressing it so or suppressing it in my memory by so much. And because it was really life altering, it didn't make any sense to me. Life was so different, and I wanted it to come back so badly. And now I have problems still after the fact, even though it's clearly not as bad as it used to be. But I went through that. What really happened, I think, was getting off of that medicine that really changed me. Now, that's not going to be the case for every single person, but I know that medicine is like very, 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 very like drastic to depending on the body, I would suppose, if you're used to it or not. But I cannot go on to it. But it was so bad, and it scares me now, and a lot of things do. But if you just try to find your happy place and stay around the people that or the life that you want to push for, and what makes you happy, stay away from the negativity that screws you up, the crazy stuff in the world that happens today, the the people that just want you to feel that way, it I don't want to pretend to like I don't want to be like, "Oh, you should be the way I'm trying to view it." No, you do what you want to do. You do what makes you passionate. Again, I'm not like it's not like I'm that old or anything, or I'm some wise person, but um I just felt like bringing that up because there was so many bad moments of my life, but that I think was the worst one, because there was so many times where, even though I'm not the type of person to ever consider thinking about passing or death or anything like that, I sometimes question myself how I didn't at that time, or even like because of how bad everything was, not only with my own body, but or how I was feeling, but also mentally how I was feeling, and my surroundings, where I felt like the world really was just screwed up and ending in front of me, as if people were really going to be like this, and this is how it is. When reality speaks for itself, that there's people out there, and you always have that mindset as to, oh, maybe this is just human nature, and maybe it is, but um, we can fight through it. We can go for a better life, because I, now I look back and I always think about it now, how my viewpoints have changed since before that had happened, because that was such a big impact on me. And now it's like, it's not that I think about dying so much. It's more of, I accept my fate if it's going to happen, and we all are going to have that eventually. And sometimes I think we're very lucky with the fact that we are still alive, and in these situations where, even though this is so bad, there is a lot of people who have a lot worse, and I'm very grateful for doing that. And if I just keep pushing forward, I can live a happy life if I just keep going towards my goal. um, whether certain goals work or not, again, find your happy place, and do what fits as to what you are. Again, I'm sorry if I made this on this channel. It's a very strange upload to do, but I felt like discussing it, because, and I'm sorry this thing's here. I haven't introduced you yet, but um, yeah, I don't know, but that was very impactful for me, and I'm sure there's so many other great stories out there that are you know, obviously, again, I'm not even in my 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever yet, but it was so surreal, and I really mean that, because it was painful 24/7 for almost it was an entire year. I'm just going to say it. It was a year of hell for me, and I would always question why me, what did I do? But I'm glad that it's over now. And I think that just live life to the best of it, I guess. If people are going to judge you, or cause negativity on your life, or try to make you feel miserable, just remember, you have yourself, and you have others to find. There's still a light there for you to find. I really believe that. I really, really do. I also think people can change. I really do. Um, with that being said, this is just a personal experience for mine. Again, I'm gonna go back to video games soon. I'm not gonna keep making videos like this, but I felt like expressing myself, because I am an open book with this now, or at least publicly on the internet. Which, should I or should I not? I don't know. But before I go, actually, I wanted to. I think my camera is a little wobbly, but this was a Five Nights at Freddy's thing that he had made for me. He drew this for me, and it was already on my wall, but it's very special now. This stuff's my sister and all that stuff, but this is something that is very important to me. Um, and yeah, I'll never, you know, um, I'll never forget him. Um, I don't think we should ever forget him, because he was a great person. He was a very great person. Um, and I don't want to. You never forget. But I'm gonna end this here, and hope that this helps anyone. I don't know how it will, but um, I just felt like sharing it. With that being said, thank you to anyone who's watching. If you have any other experiences that are either similar to this, or you feel like sharing, please feel free to do so. I think it is good to open up. Now, everyone's not the same way. You don't have to do that. But it's something that's been on my mind for a while. And to be honest, as sad as that it might sound, I don't know who else to open up to. So I open up to YouTube. Um, but yeah, with that being said, thank you, to everyone or anyone who's watching, and the channel content and all that stuff. And yeah, thank you guys so much for everything. My name is Mercy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.